The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Good day, friends. CammieBaker.com here. Another episode of the Happiness Jungle TV show. Super excited, as I always am, to do the show because all of our guests are extraordinary. They're all visionary. They're all forward thinkers. They're all making stuff happen in the world, shaking and moving out there. And today's guest is no exception. Marty Rogers and I met on Facebook. And I say all the time that social media is the most anti-social when we are all hiding behind our computer screens and behind our keyboard. However, when we can use Facebook for what God intended and actually get out and meet people, it is a blessing. So Marty Rogers and I met each other on Facebook. She reached out to me, and the rest has becoming history, as they say, and we're working together. Marty, introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them a little something about yourself.
Great. Thank you so much, Cammie. I'm Marty Rogers. And yes, we did meet on Facebook. And Cammie, thank you so much for hosting me today. This is a blessing and it's very exciting. And I just like following what you're doing. And it just kind of collaborates very nicely together. So like I said, I'm Marty and I am a financial resilient advocate. Mm-hmm. About 5 years ago, I lost my mom. And during that transition, I learned that there was a lot of things that I needed to be empowered with, knowledge, preparation, to go through that process in a way so that I could sustain and build even more resilience. And during that time, I experienced a huge lacking of support to help me transition. Finally, once I did get that help, I really felt this urgent personal crusade, you could say, really wanting to bring that support to women because there's an inherent learned helplessness I have found, and I want to see great change in that capacity.
Well, you and I've talked many times. You're a client of mine, and you've definitely been called forth. That's what I feel like when we're shifting from one career to another, as heart-centered people, we are being called forth. And, you mentioned that you're honored to be on the show today, but frankly, I'm honored that you're taking the time because I know that recently you have been on podcasts, radio shows, you've been written up a little bit. So I know that your message, your method, your madness is taking hold, and that your calling brought you forth for a clear reason to help women. Talk to me a little bit about the things that you do to help your clients.
Yeah, so basically, the first place you want to start is bringing the awareness that there's a lacking of financial understanding. And people, women especially, quickly agree with that. And it kind of opens the channels to want to receive that. So I basically keep it in simple context because that's the way we learn the best. And that's when we're inclined to apply it the quickest for ourselves, And then from there, I can assess what their needs are and what their goals are, and then put some things in place to help make that happen. And sometimes that can happen quickly. Sometimes it takes maybe several months, but definitely putting them in a position of becoming stronger.
Well, especially for something like what you do, numbers that can be confusing, overwhelming, daunting. I know for myself, I didn't speak with any financial consultant, counseling, planning at all until maybe about 4 years ago, because I was putting it off. I was avoiding it. It was a conversation I didn't want to have. We don't tend to want to look at money. Sometimes we don't even want to look at where we are, which is really ignorance on my part and on so many people's part. So really dumbing it down and keeping it at a seventh grade talking level so that we can understand. So when you're evaluating and helping people kind of become aware of where they're at, talk to me about the process of that. What do people need when they come to meet with you? What do they bring? Do they bring bank statements and all? Like, what do they do?
Well, they can, but first of all, it's about establishing a relationship, a connection. I think, well, I know that a lot of people have had not so positive experiences. They feel like they've been taken advantage of. They feel like when they're speaking to a professional, the language is much higher above that seventh grade capacity, even above 12th grade. It's not like, we're, ignorant people to say us as far as we can't understand it, but speak to us in just everyday terms.
Right.
We can handle it. And it's important for people to feel comfortable and safe. And I have found that it really is doing them a disservice, especially if you try to, take off too quickly. And rapport can be established pretty quickly, like just the way that you and I met on Facebook. Everything you were saying, I said, I need to meet this woman. She's speaking my language, and from there, so you have to connect. And I am not here as a spectator. I have had my, adversities, my, realizing that I did not have the right support at the time I needed it the most. And I'm here to really empower people to help them get that understanding, and then paint a picture of where, based on what they share with me, and usually those goals and numbers will look more like what is the minimum, for example, they would want saved at their retirement. And then from there, we just kind of backtrack and put a plan in place.
Well, you mentioned building rapport and having that relationship, and it is so important, especially with what you do, because you're not selling a bottle of perfume or a lipstick. Like people really need to trust you and feel confident with you and feel like they can really bare their soul to you, which I know I feel that way with you. You definitely have that a way of making people feel very comfortable, and that's definitely a skill that is required in your business. Tell us a little something about, like, who does she look like? Because you typically work with women. Like, what age? What does your avatar look like? Who is she?
I don't like to eliminate people, because when people are ready, if they're 25 or if they're 35, but typically the best age group to really get hands-on and helping is between the ages of 30 and 50. At some point in our life, they say that women have a 95% of the time, and at some point in their lifetime, will be the primary sole decision maker for their family. And before my mom had passed away, I had taken on some responsibility to help her in those months before that transition. And there was a professional team, but as her daughter, she entrusted me to make some big decisions for her. And so I have a family of my own, and so just that juggling of responsibilities and over a period of time can be very exhausting and daunting, So I feel like it would only be of service to talk about it and help women have some segue to empower themselves, like we talk about putting their oxygen mask on first, right? So that they could be resilient and help other people, because our roles are multifaceted.
Our roles are multifaceted, and as you mentioned, with us wanting to be of service, I know that there are many layers to Marty, and there's a lot of things you've got going on. I know that you're very passionate and compassionate to a lot of other human beings on the planet. When we're on the Zoom together, I can see your eyes well up with tears when you start talking about situations that people are in. And I don't want to date this recording, but there's something going on in California right now that deserves our attention. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for the folks out in California right now.
Right. So in the last 4 weeks, we've had multiple fires, and they have done enormous devastation. And there are people who have been displaced, and some people will take many, many years to recover. Unfortunately, many, many lives have been, taken by these fires. So really, advocating to bring aid. We did a GoFundMe. I put up links for Amazon for people to, be able to purchase brand new supplies. Like we're through that GoFundMe, we were able to donate 6 brand new sleeping bags and 6 brand new blankets. And that's just one piece. Some people went and they bought toys for children, diapers, children's clothing, shoes, household supplies, food. And we wanted to take a large truck to deliver, but they were so overwhelmed with generosity that going online, doing gift cards, money, shopping online to have them delivered. And from that, Cami, I have had personal friends. Some of them are longtime friends. Some of them are relatively new in the last 3 to 6 months. Have reached out and said, I have someone for you to talk to. Would you please talk to her? She's looking for a place to stay. So keeping that rapport going, it's no big deal I'm happy to help. I'm blessed. I have a house over my head, shelter. The truth is it could be any one of us.
That is so true. And even though right now Facebook Live, please feel free to reach out to Marty and get more of that information. Find her on Facebook. But even later, months and years from now, when people are watching this, you can always reach out to Marty because she's always going to be doing something to help others, some kind of what we call a cause marketing campaign, to have a way to be out there meeting people. And you have a lot of people in your center, in your sphere, that are very well connected, that are very well established, that are really helping with what you're doing. So not to just date it for what's happening right now, but months and years
Absolutely.
from now, talk about some of the things that you're looking for as far as resources and relationships that you can use to help all these folks.
Wonderful. The relationships is core, and that's from where I'm building, everything on. Whether I'm helping people personally become much more structured and prepared for their future, or if it's in business, there's ways that we can help them, and they can help my main thing, but they intertwine. Now, Cami, you mentioned that I've been on podcasts. I currently am on a radio show. I'm co-hosting with Cornelia Stephanie on her show. And she's the creator and the founder of Millionaire Imprint for Women, #Millionaire Me Too.
Nice.
And so we're doing some really great things together because she brings the emotional component around money, and I'm bringing the more fundamental understandings to it. So those two things together, for women especially, go hand in hand. So I'm really excited about that.
So
I want to make sure.
It's a radio show that people can call into and get their questions answered in real time?
They can send in a message. We have a Millionaire Imprint for Women every other Friday. I'm co-hosting Cornelia this Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock Pacific time. So I'll definitely post that on my Facebook page.
So what's the call letters? What's the radio station and or internet that they can find that at? So
CorneliaStephanie.com, and I will put the links for that show up on my Facebook Live after this program.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
So what do you think it was in your life that made you feel like you really want to give back? Because you are so heart-centered. I can just feel your love and compassion every time we talk. Did something happen in your life earlier, or were you raised to be compassionate?
Well, I have very compassionate parents, for sure. They both have passed on, but they demonstrated a tremendous amount of love and kindness. And I remember my parents always said, you can never give kindness away because it always comes back to you. And you don't lead with that from a selfish component. For me, it's like evidence that it's so real. It's from like the core. I mean, we were brought here to do something bigger than to just think of like me, myself, and I. I always feel so much more filled up when I'm witnessing, whether it's with my eyes or with like every fiber of my being, to really see the impact that we're making, and seeing the impact of things not being addressed hurts me, and I was there in service to my mom. I would do it again if I had to during her illness. It was 10 years, but the last 3 to 5 years were the most impactful. And I know that it's something that, in a humble way, I do feel proud of that. And I could use that I would say success in being able to reach to certain capacities within myself to really advocate for her. And when you're advocating for someone in this country especially, it can be tricky. You have to kind of be on your toes, be aware of what's really available to people. And in the financial space is no different. Sometimes there's things that are available to us that are hiding in plain sight. We're so consumed with the day-to-day, hustle and the rush that we can oftentimes miss it. Just like you said at the beginning, like, well, I'm busy, or, you don't realize how important certain things are until maybe you are confronted by it. So whether one is in a major life transition or it's not really there, at some point in life we will be called to address it. So the sooner the better.
So talk to us about these things that are hidden in plain sight. Where are these resources and things that can help people to wrap their head around their financial knowledge? Where are these?
It's just, like we've said before when we've had our one-on-one calls, I said, like, it's not in the educational system, learning how money really works, the basic fundamental rules, is like, not really brought to the front and center. Just the basic mathematical equation that Einstein, created, the rule of 72, compounding of interest. If you understand it, it's working to your advantage. If it's not, it's working against you, like you're paying on your credit card. So that alone.
Give us just something we can sink our teeth into. You mentioned credit cards. Talk about that a little bit, about what advice would you have for people to get out of credit card debt or to build their credit through the credit card system?
Right. Well, let me try to keep that on the most simple scale, because this could evolve into like another show. But I would just say, just be aware of what the interest rates are, that you're applying for. Understand, maybe, hopefully people are consistently putting away for retirement, right? And understanding, what they're leveraging from that as compared to what they're paying on the interest. So maybe considering your options of, depending on where one's debt is just to be very, very mindful of really how much is really going to that credit card debt. And, that just definitely opens up the channel also of creating other streams of cash flow, and that could be another show as well.
Well, I know people talk about how if you make one extra mortgage payment a year, how that brings your mortgage from 30 years down to 17 or something crazy like that. So is there a trick or a tip about how to pay off credit card debt in an easy way?
I would say, definitely, if however possible, to be as aggressive as you can be to get it down, because the higher it grows, the higher it's going to compound, right? And, that's something that I could directly help people with offline. Like if they wanted to have a conversation, I'd be happy to do that, to see if maybe a couple different options might be of value to them. It's a good time of year for that too, actually.
Sure it is. And people are thinking right now how to plan for 2000, whatever it is next year that you see this show. So
exactly.
So Tell me a little story about someone that you've worked with, where she was when you met, no names obviously, and
Obviously,
where
yes.
she is today. Give me a fun story of someone.
I have it. I'm so glad you asked that question. So, yes, someone who's very dear to me. She's a young woman in her later 20s. She graduated from Cal Berkeley a few years back. And when I met her, I thought she's got amazing goals and dreams, and it really aligned with me. At the time, she was working three jobs, supporting herself, and she had some debt. And so we were to do an assessment, and I have a colleague partner, and he specializes in it. So together, he said, there's some things that we could do, and consolidation was one of the objectives, and it really enhanced her portfolio in a way where she could go from 3 jobs to 2 jobs, to cutting her debt almost in half.
Wow.
And she's going to be debt free in the next 3 months. So that's in about 2.5 years. And she made the right decisions. She made some bold moves, and then in critical ways, she was conservative when it required. So making the bold moves when it's time to make those bold moves, and holding back, not making a impulsive decision when it could make the whole thing collapse. But helping someone leverage their time like that, going from 3 jobs to 2 jobs, and scaling back the amount of debt that they have to pay, and paying their debt is just not paying the aggressive interest rates that come with that. So,
well, and not only do you help people in those situations as a client, but you're building a team too. You're building a team of people that you're helping them to increase their income while they're helping other people. Talk a little bit about the team that you're building.
yeah, so I am building a team. I've got some pretty big dreams in the next 18 to 24 months. And when I talk to people, and I'm transparent about my goals, my vision, like really helping women to be empowered, and really seeing, exponential growth in that capacity. And, I'm co-hosting the show Millionaire Imprint for Women that was, created by Cornelia Stephanie. And she's coined the phrase #MillionaireMeToo. So definitely Millionaire Me Too is about women becoming wealthy. It's time for women to say goodbye, in my opinion, to the 5-digit income, and to really get into higher income for their resiliency, their security, for themselves, their families, and their futures. And when women lead the way, that's when men, families, communities really benefit from that.
As you're saying that, I do some work with Dress for Success, and I've learned a lot more recently about Dress for Success, and that I think about it being, you put a nice suit. So when I've had gently warm suits and other people we donate, they put a beautiful suit on them for when they're going to a job interview or to get a business loan. But they really work with their mind too, like really helping them to become financially independent, solvent, etc. So I'm just thinking about all the places that your information would be so valuable, and places that you can speak and share your information. So you do talks at different venues and events. Talk to me about some of your talks, and let's kind of prime the pump for people thinking who are watching the show as to where you can speak. And of course, reach out to Marty when you want her to come educate your women.
Absolutely. So relevant for sure. Imagine when women like yourself and myself, and women that really want to bring, value. When we're empowered, we're able to bring other people up with us. Mm-hmm. And with that, I educate women how to create a legacy for themselves, at the same time building a legacy for their children. For example, I have 2 sons. They're 18 and 21 right now, and I'm putting retirement structures in place for them, so that as the years move on, they can create something powerful for themselves by knowing how to. Not only putting things in place, but teaching them how to do it. Cami, whether I'm here or not, the most important thing I do is to empower my sons how to build a resilient future for themselves.
Nice, nice. Are there
So,
any
yeah.
are there any books or seminars or things that you suggest that your sons read or participate in that our viewers could learn from?
Well, you're opening the door right there. I have a book that's about to come out. It's called Financial Identity for Women, but men can benefit too because it's really a mindset, and that's coming out probably about another month from now. And my website is here, so it's has a few more tweaks to be added, but there's a place where you can add your contact, and you can be one of the first to get my free ebook when it comes out.
Nice.
So basically, it talks about the mindset and awareness and the giving yourself the permission to be the authority for your financial future.
Good for you, and that book is going to show you as the authority in this legacy building, and I'm so honored to be a part of that. We'll talk about that more offline as well. So in the interim, while we're waiting for your book to come out, and once we've read your book, there's so many others like Think and Grow Rich. What are some other books that have inspired you over the years?
I love that book. That's a great book. If you haven't read that book, that's definitely one of them. There's some books, The Power of Zero, Stress-Free Retirement. And if you Google them, it'll populate. I'm happy to add that, to the link as well. So ways that you could put yourself in a position where you're sheltering your resources from being taxed. Obviously, where things are going, I think probably in the not too distant future, taxes are going to be going up. So
well, that's one thing we can
my wager.
That's one thing we can be guaranteed on. We have to pay taxes, and they're always going to go up. So in the last 30 seconds or so, Marty, what is one piece of advice you'd give our viewers about anything?
I would say, give yourself permission to reach out to me for a conversation. I'm willing to spend 30 minutes having a conversation with you to see if there's something that we could put in place for you to get to leverage your time and money in short order. So, and being the authority of your future is your responsibility. So I want to encourage you to embrace that, and we're all going to be in a more solvent space for it.
Amen, sister. Take control of your financial future. It's a jungle out there, but you can be happy. Happiness Jungle. Bye-bye.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.